So I just finished up a run of 6 Damascus Cobras. And one of the things that was unique about these, other than the fact that they are Damascus, was that they were not CNC milled. They were actually cut on a water jet. Okay, so they did not have a chamfer when they arrived. And for those of you that don't know what a chamfer is, imagine you had, let me zoom this in here. Imagine you had a, this is the corner of your workpiece. What a chamfer is going to do is actually just put like a 45-degree cut there. A lot of times you'll have a like a chamfer tool. It's obviously would go all the way up. That would be on a mill, and basically the table would run, and once it hit right in here, it would kind of give it a 45-degree angle. So that way it's not as it's not as uncomfortable to hold. It's not going to tear up your pocket. You can also tumble work pieces, and that will round them off. As you can see with this is one of the plugs that was cut out for the thumb holes, and there's no rounding of that edge. Now you could do that by hand with sandpaper, but that's going to take you a long time. Or you could just leave it, but that's not really an option, just if you need something that's going to be comfortable. Tumbling works, but for a Damascus workpiece, you want them polished, and a tumbled finish is just not gonna show you the pattern very well. So what I actually did with these is I used my Dremel to go around the edge. Hopefully you can see it here, and I can get it to focus here. Basically did a 45-degree thereabouts chamfer around all the corners, and then also inside the thumb hole here, the finger hole. And so what that does is it makes sure that it's not going to tear up your pockets, it's not going to get a bunch of stuff stuck to it, and it's also not going to be painful to hold or to use. You more than likely would not cut yourself on it, but even at a 90-degree angle, if you get something sharp enough, you can actually cut yourself. So what I actually did for this, I created myself a jig, which I ended up not using because it just wasn't working for me, but for some people it might be very effective. This is a Dremel. It's a rotary tool. I'll turn it on real quick. If I knew how to turn it on. There we go. And these are, they're similar to angle grinders, but obviously they are positioned differently. The way that they're set up is different. And these are good for doing some light routing. You can do grinding, you can put cutting wheels on. There's all kinds of attachments. And these are gonna run anywhere between 5,000 and 32,000 RPMs. So they're very high speed. They are designed for side loading. So that way, if you happen to be cutting something from the side, it's not going to stress the shaft more than it should. If it does, then you've probably just broken the tool. But what I did for 45 degrees, I actually just used a piece of wood here that I cut with a circular saw at 45 degrees, and then just screwed it into my workbench. And then what I can do is I can loosen the height control bolt on the column here, and I can move it around, and basically you just lay the workpiece here, and then you can use it to use this 45-degree surface to make sure that you're maintaining the angle as you engage this is a sanding band, so as you do that. Now for me it just wasn't working, plus I was having to constantly adjust it up and down using the press piece here, which I wasn't really a fan of. So what I ended up doing was just turning around here and rotating it out to, let's see, at to 45 degrees here, and then just kind of eyeballing it and trying to hold the piece level as I worked around here. I actually used it on the back instead of the front, so that way I could see the edge as it was coming across the sanding band. So, and it's something you do by hand. It's not always going to be perfect, but the good thing about it is if you take your time and go slow, you'll be able to control what you're doing and not take off too much at a time. So if you do happen to get a little boo-boo, they're usually fairly easy to fix. Some people try to use the Dremel just free-handed. So if I were to take this actually out of the of this little press workstation, whatever you want to call it, and just clamp the workpiece in a vise, I could do that, or I could actually just hold one in one hand and one in the other. I don't recommend it because you're not gonna have very good results. So if you want to start using a Dremel for some of your projects, I definitely recommend that you get the this is the Dremel 4000 model. I've used a 3000, a 200, a couple of other models. The thing about the 4000 is it has electronic feedback to the motor and to the voltage controller, so it's supposedly going to be better at maintaining the rotational speed. Basically, whenever you increase the speed, what it's going to do is increase the voltage, and if you bog down on something because it's kind of getting stuck or you're pushing it too hard, it's going to drastically slow the rotational speed down, which isn't necessarily always a bad thing, but if you're trying to maintain a certain speed, then it's just not going to be as effective. So but definitely recommend, if you do not have one and you like to do projects like that, definitely invest in one. They cost about $100 on Amazon. The 4000 model, which is plug-in, don't get the battery operated ones. I cannot stress that enough. They're just not going to provide the power that you're going to need. And then also this little Dremel drill press workstation, whatever you call it, they're about $40 or $50 on Amazon. So for $150 or so, you can have a pretty decent setup to where you'll be able to do a lot of home projects without having to invest in a lot of additional equipment or pay somebody to do the labor for you. So thanks for watching.